In 2017 in Melbourne, she competed in her first major international competition and broke a number of national...
Oh, yeah. So feminine. Okay. Whatever you say. Hello and welcome back to Trash TV Review. I am Dwight Gillespie. I am your host. Yes, and I can talk, I promise you. If you haven't done so already, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. By all means, comment, share it with your friends, whether you like it or not. Just go ahead and share it. Today we're going to do something a little bit different here on Trash TV Review. We are going to review it's Sky News, which comes out of Australia. It usually leans a bit to the right, so prepare for that. But it's got one of my favorite, most notorious people that they're going to do this. And I haven't seen this. It's about Sarah Silverman, who I never really much cared for, just because I never much cared for it. It's all that wokeness, and not that I'm totally against all these things. It's just that some people just take it to that umpteenth degree, and they're just so full of shit. Because here she is, just some really hot, sexy Hollywood person talking about, people that she knows nothing about. This girl's never worked a day in her life, for fuck's sake. Please, let's be honest. And I watch these guys, the Hodge twins. They're great. I give a shout out. They're also pretty conservative. And, they put it perfectly when they were talking about AOC, who is actually my representative here in Queens. And when they said, it's unfortunate, but nobody ever tells the hot chick that they're stupid, Anyway, here we go. This is Sarah Silverman. Again, I haven't seen this clip, so we're watching it fresh. And this has a good chance that we're just going to do this one on Patreon. Anyway, here we go.
Imagine for a second that you're a female athlete, a weightlifter who has devoted your life to the sport.
They talk really funny, right?
And then a former male weightlifter decides they're a woman.
What's wrong with that?
Starts competing in the women's division. That is the
This
reality for female weightlifters.
Look at this dude. Are you serious? Yeah, I'm a chick now. Hold on. Let me move this up a little bit. Let me readjust my vagina. Okay, yeah, with all the gold medals. That's great.
Competing and typically losing against...
I'm going to say something that's going to be really, if I were a woman, right? And look, listen, you have to understand, and I'm going to preface it with this. I don't give a shit what you want to call yourself. I really don't care. I don't care. Guys that want to dress up in dresses, girls that want to dress up like guys, you want to cut off your bodily part. It's your prerogative. And I really believe that. I don't, look, that's your business. It really is. You're a consenting adult, that's fine. But this is like ridiculous. If I were a woman, right? Not so much as a guy, because women think that all you got to do to be a guy is like drive a forklift or some shit like that. And there is more to it. There's more to being a man than driving a forklift or being in the army. But there's a lot more to being a woman than simply saying you're a woman, putting on a wig and fake breasts. You say it's courageous. But I got to tell you something. I was raised by 5 women. My mother, I got 4 sisters. I got 2 brothers and my dad too. But the women definitely were dominant in my family. These women started menstruating at 11, 12 years old, I guess. I guess that's when it usually happens. And you're going to menstruate until you're in your 50s. And then you're going to go through menopause, right? You're going to deal with men, right, for that entire time. You're going to deal with being second-class citizens in many cases, because I believe in equality among the sexes and all that stuff. I want to know, and nobody can answer this for me, I want to know how it's different for some guy to think that at 50 some odd years old, he could just say he's a woman because he feels like a woman without, by the way, defining what that means, right, to be a woman. Right. And not having to go through all those hardships that women really go through and deal with all the bullshit that women have dealt with and just say, I feel like I'm a woman. How is that any different than some white kid putting in cornrows and wearing blackface and go, I know what it feels like to be black? How is it any different? How is it not is degrading to women to think that that's all it takes to be a woman than some white person just claiming that they know what it feels like to be black because, like they have cornrows now and they put on blackface. And I got to tell you, I really I ask people that and nobody can answer it because it's a very controversial topic to ask. And I don't say it from a standpoint where I'm against men dressing if that's what you're comfortable, by all means, I don't give a shit. People have been doing that for fucking centuries. Go ahead and do it. But to say that you know what it feels like to be a woman and then you can't even define woman, I got to tell you something. If I were a woman, I'd be offended. As a man, look, you don't know what it feels like to be a man if you're not a man. If you're not born this way. You think that all it takes to be me is to be rugged or whatever. First of all, not all men are like that. Not all men are alpha. There's a lot of beta and I don't know what the C would be. That's not what it means. But I got to tell you, I just, when Jenner did that, she became, I call her she. I don't pronoun people. If that's what you want to be called, I'm not against that. I'm against forcing me to do it, but I'll do it as a courtesy. What is her name? I forget. Caitlyn Jenner. Yeah. She's so, she's defying the odds. Oh my gosh, she's so courageous. She's so courageous about it. I don't think it's courageous at all. Watch what her daughters have gone through to be women and the shit that they've had to put up with. His stepdaughter, Kim Kardashian, right? She made her bones by doing a sex tape, right? And everybody looked at her, right? Nobody gave a shit about the guy in it, right? That's what women deal with, right? Where she's looked down upon for that sex tape, whereas whatever his name was, that's Brandy's brother, right? What was his name? Whatever his name is. Ray J? Whatever. I don't think he's anything anymore. But nobody looked down on him for the sex tape, but they looked down on her. See, that's what women deal with. And she comes out at 50 some odd years old. I know what it feels. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have to deal with any of that bullshit. And you never will. Right? So anyway, that's my perspective on this, for what it's worth. And I know it's controversial, but I look, because I am pro-women. I am pro-woman. That makes me pro-woman, And I think that for me to identify with the struggle of what it means to be a woman in this society, I got to tell you, these people who think that they can just do it and just because I feel it. And you can't even tell me what it means to feel that. I don't know. You look at the faces on these two real women right here, and I'd say real women because they were born that way. They can't compete with this guy. Anyway, let's get. Yeah.
Used to be called Gavin and competed internationally as a male weightlifter before transitioning at the age of 35 and competing as
well after puberty, well after having to deal with all the bullshit, right? Yeah, okay.
A woman. In 2017 in Melbourne, she competed in her first major international competition and broke a number of national...
Oh, yeah. So feminine. Okay, whatever you say.
Records on her way to winning the women's over 90 kilogram division. She came to represent New Zealand after beating Olympic medalist Tracy Lambrix, who no longer had any hope of winning in her weight division after Hubbard's transition. Rather than compete against an athlete born male, Tracy lost 17 kilograms to compete at a lower weight division. She's now retired and able to speak freely about what female weightlifters think about trans athletes competing in the women's division.
I'm quite disappointed for the female athlete who will lose out on that spot. We're all about equality for women in sport, but right now that equality's been taken away from us. Weightlifters come up to me and say, like, what do we do? Like, this isn't fair. What can we do? And unfortunately, there's nothing we can do.
Nothing, because if you say something, you're a pariah. If you say something, they'll cancel you. If you say something, you're transphobic. I ain't afraid of nobody, right? So it's got nothing to do with that. Title IX was created to give women equality in collegiate athletics. And how are you doing that when you're saying, like, you could take a man who ranked in the top, let's say he ranked 120th. This guy goes and becomes a woman. We saw it, Leah Thomas, I think her name was, in swimming. That's it. You don't even rank as a man, and then you become, transition, and all of a sudden you're breaking world records and everything. And again, to me, this is just another shot at women. This is just another case of women taking it in the shorts by men by men deciding that we're going to do this. And the thing that Bowie's my claim on all of this stuff is that you've never seen a woman transition to become a man and break world records and be a number one in any male sport. Right? You don't see women becoming men and all of a sudden they're playing in Major League Baseball or football or anything like that. It's not going to happen because they don't have the same physical acumen that men do. It's just we're different. We're built different. Everything it's just different. And to say it's not, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And you're burying your head in the sand. And you're denying women a right to compete. Right? It's just the way it is.
Every time we try to voice it, we get told to be quiet.
Be quiet.
We're told to be quiet.
Yeah, like good little girls. You girls just shut your mouths and let the men make the decisions because we're smarter than you. We're better than you. And if we want, we can be you and we can be better at being you. Dave Chappelle said it. He was in Detroit. I'll never forget right after all this shit started. And he said, Caitlyn Jenner's better than all you bitches. And she only been a woman for 6 months. It was a great line because it's it. Woman of the year. Woman of the year. Woman of the year. Look, if you can't bleed for 5 days a month and live, and do that for your fucking lifetime, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No man can compete with that. Men cannot compete with women overall. I really believe that. And people always say, I think women are the stronger sex, personally. And I really do. I think women are far more capable of dealing with a lot of shit than men are. Man, we go through the wall. That's all we know. That's it. Women are just better at a lot of stuff than men. Anyway.
That's what happens to women who stand up for their rights against the trans movement. They're told to be quiet or attacked and labelled bigots and TERFs. Right. And that was pretty much the...
I have heard that mentioned, but I don't know what it means. TERF? Yeah. No, I think it's an acronym for something. Anyway, we'll look that up. TERF. Yeah.
A message this week from Hollywood actor and comic Sarah Silverman.
And she's not much of a comic, by the way. Sarah Silverman really isn't that funny if you've seen her stand up. But she is hot, especially when Jimmy Kimmel was banging her. She was real hot then. And I love what happened to her after Jimmy was done, right? He just fucking threw her away like nothing. Yeah.
Silverman, who scolded female athletes and even Caitlyn Jenner for saying women's sport should be for women.
Right. Caitlyn Jenner, who was a professional athlete before she transitioned, right? Yeah. Here we go. Here. The great mind of Sarah Silverman that everybody needs to hear.
Saw Caitlyn.
Trans-exclusionary radical. That's a bad thing then. Exclusion. Radical feminist. So it's a feminist. So it's the feminists that even the woke community hates. They're feminists who aren't woke enough. Okay. Here we go. Let's listen to the wit and wisdom.
Jenner saying trans girls should not play girls' sports. Caitlyn, you're a woman, right? A trans girl is a girl. She should have the same rights as cis girls.
Yeah.
If you think a trans girl, you think a trans girl is too strong?
Yes. Yes. What are you, a fucking idiot? Are you a fucking? Are we just going to throw biology out altogether? These are the same people. Sarah Silverman is one of those, also like one of those atheist people who says science. There's no God. There's science, right? And here, there's no science. It's no biology. Doesn't mean anything. Yeah. Yes. Once somebody hits puberty, the male body grows to be stronger. It's just a fact. I mean, you can't get around it, right? And even going through and having, later on, and you're gonna take these beta blockers, I think, whatever the fuck it is, they take to become more feminine. You're gonna pump yourself up with estrogen. The testosterone is still off the charts. You still have the muscle mass. You still have the breathing capacity. Your lung capacity is better. Your respiratory capacity is better. I mean, I'm just off the top of my head. I've heard these things. I think it's pretty much scientific. What about tall girls? She's saying, if you're tall, that's the same.
What about tall girls as opposed to short girls? What about boys in high school who are teeny tiny? And
they don't compete in professional sports. They don't compete. That's what happens when they're teeny tiny. They don't compete. They don't compete in professional sports. So this is ridiculous. Sports, especially at a professional level. I never competed in professional sports because I couldn't. I don't have the talent for it, right? So I don't compete. But you're telling me that Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, that there's a woman that's going to be a Mr. Universe as opposed to Arnold Schwarzenegger, or if Arnold became a woman that, like, you play softball better than all of them. This is it's just ridiculous.
Their teammates have already hit puberty and are shaving. Why don't you just have co-ed sports divided by weight or height?
Yeah, that'd be great. And I would love to see that. Ask Serena Williams about co-ed sports. There would never be another female tennis champion ever. 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 Okay? Serena Williams got beat by a guy. What was he? He was ranked like 300th or something like that. He had two big pints of ale, played 18 holes of golf before they played, and kicked their ass. Okay? So yeah, let's go ahead, Sarah. Let's have that co-ed sports. We should do it across the board. And all these women who have athletic scholarships, right, to all these great universities, and they should. I believe in Title IX. I believe that women should have these. But go ahead, Sarah, let's do that and see how many women are going to get these scholarships, right? When there are 50 scholarships available and they're evenly divided, men and women, right now, what you want to do is make it all co-ed. Guess who's going to get all those fucking scholarships? There'll be no more women in collegiate sports. It's what's going to happen.
This is so dumb.
It is.
They are legislating this shit without one single example of how this plays
Not one? I just gave you 10.
out.
How moronic. Like, how moronic can you be? And
Not one example. It's almost impossible to overstate just how diabolically dumb that diatribe
I love
from
it.
Silverman
Diabolically.
was.
You are
Imagine
diabolically
being that hopelessly
This is, what was that? Happy Madison, or what was it? Billy Madison. And we are all dumber for having listened to it. Yeah, I know you'll find that clip. You can put that. We are all dumber for having listened to you.
ignorant on the issue and yet feeling like you're entitled to lecture female athletes about what's fair.
Somebody who never competed in collegiate sports in her life, probably, right?
Here's a news flash for Sarah. We have men's and women's categories in sport for a reason. And yes, we even have weight categories in certain sports like boxing and weightlifting.
Right. Because they're teeny weeny, right? Because you have bantamweight. They're not going to fight in a heavyweight division, you stupid person, you. Like, hey, what if they're small? They don't play. They coach. They become agents. That's what they do.
Guess who will be erased if it's a free-for-all?
Right. Yeah.
It won't be the dudes. As science writer Amy Alkin points out, the fastest female sprinter in the world is American runner Allyson Felix, a woman with more gold medals than Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
Her lifetime best for the 400 metres is 49.26 seconds. Based on 2018 data, nearly 300 high school boys in the US alone.
You see that? Like 300 high school boys in the US alone could beat the fastest woman in the world, Allyson Felix. 300 high school kids. Women would never be able to compete. They couldn't compete.
Would beat that time.
Yeah.
But
That's
back
good,
to
Sarah.
New
I'm with
Zealand
you, Sarah.
champion Laurel Hubbard, who was about to become a Commonwealth Games gold medalist on the Gold Coast in 2018, but had to withdraw at the last minute due to an injury. In the lead up to the Games, many female competitors were perturbed by Hubbard's inclusion in the women's division. The Samoan head coach spoke for many when he said, Laurel Hubbard used to be a male champion weightlifter. The strength is still there, and I think it's very unfair. And for all females, it's unfair.
And they're probably pissed at this guy, right? And all he was doing here is standing up for the females on his team. That's all he was doing. And he transphobe. When people have no intellectual argument, they revert to calling names. That's what you do. When you have no argument left, you revert to name calling. You're a transphobe, you're a racist, you're whatever it is, whatever the thing. For me, I'm fat phobic, by the way, and I am fat phobic. And I get into that online a lot. I am fat phobic. I'm scared to death. I was 90 pounds heavier, and it was bad. My health was really bad. I've lost 90 pounds. My health is so much better now. And I am absolutely scared to death of putting that. That's what phobia is, by the way, is being scared. I'm not scared of people. I'm not scared of trans people. You want to be trans, that's fine. But it doesn't mean that you can compete in these arenas and that you can do this. Being trans is fine. You want to assume the life or what you think the life is of the opposite sex. That's fine. That's fine. But I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to say, and I'll abide by it. I'll call you whatever pronoun you want me to call you. That's fine. You know, I don't have a problem with that. I'm not disrespectful in that way. But at the same time, this makes zero sense. Because what you're doing, again, it goes again to men excluding women. And that, to me, I don't see it any other way. It is men excluding women. I have decided, John McEnroe took a bunch of crap for saying this. Serena Williams probably couldn't beat one of the top 100 guys. And he was right. And he's like, well, and somebody on the program, it was Good Morning America or something. Somebody on the program said, well, you know what? He said, well, let's make it co-ed then. There isn't a man in tennis who wouldn't want to make it co-ed. It would make more money. And there probably isn't a female in tennis who would want that.
That point of view is backed up by New Zealand physiology professor Alison Heather, who said the physiological attributes of males that make them naturally stronger, including anatomical and biological features such as size, muscle mass, lung capacity, and heart size, would be an advantage.
Well, there's got to be something. If 300 high school boys could outrun the fastest woman, you can't say, well, there's no difference. But there has to be. I mean, how can you say, what, does she just not train as well? They don't train women as well as they train men. I bet she trains really well and really hard, and she has coaches and sponsors and all these people who want her to be as successful as possible. And as successful as possible for her is to be the fastest woman, is to be slower than at least 300 high school kids, high school boys in America.
Forget about Commonwealth gold medals. Hubbard may well be an Olympic champion at this year's Games in Tokyo. As Reuters reports, Hubbard is effectively guaranteed a spot in the women's super heavyweight category.
This is back in June
Bad
of last
luck,
year.
ladies. It's sad that this needs to be pointed out, but men and women are different, and pretending otherwise only disadvantages women.
Yeah.
Biology doesn't
exactly
care
what I'm
about
saying.
your feelings or your pronouns.
Right.
That's why even the wokest of the woke, the likes of Martina Navratilova, are now begging Joe Biden to change the executive order he signed on the first day of his presidency and protect girls and women's sport.
Right. And there ain't a lot of women that are more manly than Martina Navratilova. Let's face it. I mean, I grew up with Martina, phenomenal tennis player, but she's very strong. Kick my ass, that's for sure. Even right today, she'd still kick my ass, I'm man enough to admit it. But this whole idea that that men and women should be in open competition, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And the fact that you're not allowed to say anything about it, and you talk about fascism, and I always laugh at that. People like fascist. I don't think people look that up and see what it really means. If I am forced to bend to your beliefs or risk the retribution, of being canceled, of having my livelihood taken from me, that's fascism. And anyway, this ought to get me canceled or clicks, one or the other. But it is what I believe. And like I said, I am a staunch believer in women and what women are capable of. I don't understand how other women don't see it that way. And Sarah Silverman's just an asshole. Let's just face it. Like, she just wants to get her name out. Please, people, remember me. I used to fuck Jimmy Kimmel. I was on his show. I've seen her stand up, and I watched her show, the Sarah Silverman show. It wasn't good. The minor characters were better than she was. She's just not that funny. She thinks she's a lot funnier than she is. But boy, she was hot when she was young. And let's face it, Sarah, you don't want men competing with that, do you? Anyway, this is a woman who made her living like that, who made her living being a hot chick that nobody would say no to, that nobody would just bother to say, why don't you just shut the fuck up? But you're getting to an age now where we can do that, can't we? You have a great one. My name is Dwight Gillespie. This is Trash TV Review and Sarah Silverman. We just reviewed the trash. All right, there you go. If you liked it, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification button. By all means, comment and share it with your friends. All right, be well. Thank you. This is another episode. We'll see you next week. Have a great week. Bye now.